If you're here to find out if anger has a place in vegan activism, then you're in the right place. I'm Mariquita, a vegan empowerment coach, and I help vegans that are struggling in anger, sadness, and depression. I've been there and I know what it's like, and it blocks you from effective activism and it blocks you from finding peace. And peace is our birthright. Peace is everyone's birthright. So I work one on one with my coaching clients. I also have group coaching programs, which are super fun. If you want to reach out to me about that. And I also have this vegan empowered vegans live stream. So I'm excited to have everyone here watching. Please give StreamYard permission to use your name. Let us know who's watching. And please give us your questions and comments. We'll be watching for them. So I want to welcome my guest today, Lisa DeCrescente. She's been a vegan since 2000. And in 2001, her relationship with the animal rights movement began when she helped launch Humane USA in New York, an animal rights political action committee. She's a director of special projects at Farm Animal Rights Movement. And I'm super excited to have her here today. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wow. Well, I've been looking forward to this. I'm very inspired by your beliefs and really tackling this issue about if anger has a place in vegan activism. And I see JJ's here. So um, someone is saying they're honored to be invited to this topic, which concerns us all. Yes,
Oh,
it does. So thanks for joining. And so let's start out first. I'd really love to hear about how you became a vegan because everybody's story is unique.
oh yeah, mine is very unique.
Great. All right, everybody, sit back. Here we
Yeah,
go.
so it's a weird story, but I'll share it. I was 17 in high school, and part of science class was we were to look at a piece of meat under a microscope. And I was so horrified by what I saw that I vowed to never eat meat again. And that brought me to vegetarianism. Um, my transition from vegetarianism to veganism happened because I have a history of cancer in my family. And when I found out about dairy and how it really does, affect cancer and cancer growth, that is what made me go vegan. After that, I started to learn about what happens to animals behind the scenes. And that is when I turned into an ethical vegan. And I was involved rescuing animals, companion animals mostly, helping them find forever homes, working with some local organizations. And then in 2000, I worked with a very powerful group of women and a few men to launch Humane USA and really got involved in that whole world of the animal rights movement. And I was so drawn to it. But still, I was a restaurant owner and I was into event producing. Didn't really become a member of the animal rights movement professionally until about 5 years ago when I joined Farm Animal Rights Movement. So it's been a long journey, but I finally made it.
Yes, the awakening, right? I mean, for me, it's a very spiritual journey. And so that's why it's not a linear journey. Everyone has their own way of getting there. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, yeah, and that's interesting because we don't ever know what's going to like switch the light bulb, right? Turn on that light and
Absolutely. It's that
yeah, and
light switch. Hmm.
right. And so that's very interesting that you would were in the biology class and that's
Yeah,
what happened. Yeah, that's very
absolutely.
hopeful. Hopefully more people in biology will make the connection.
Yeah,
That might be where we need to send them. But anyway,
right.
that's
Look at a piece of meat under a microscope and then get back to me on that.
that's funny. That's something we haven't tried yet. So good point. Anyway, well, I see Chris is here from North Carolina. Thanks for watching, Chris.
Hey,
She's
Chris.
very sweet. All well, our viewers are wonderful. So Lisa, let's talk about anger. Did you go through a period where you were very angry when you first became a vegan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm angry all the time.
Okay, that answers that.
Um,
Okay, and that's
yeah, I mean,
normal.
we all experience anger. I think the way that I like to see it and what I've learned over the years is that anger can be a fuel. I think the only person that anger really works for is Joey Carbstrong. He uses anger really well, you know. We all experience anger. It's definitely a temporary emotion. It's not somewhere we should stay or live because, of course, it negatively impacts our health, but it can be used as a fuel. And usually it's, you know, we feel something negative about a deliberate wrong that's been done to someone we care about or, you know, ourselves. But I do believe it can be used as a fuel to motivate us into action. And there are a lot of ways that we can get involved to make a difference in the animal rights movement. And we don't need to necessarily be an employee of a big animal rights organization. We could just be a person that gets involved with groups, you know, volunteering. There's so many volunteer opportunities, even with farm. But I think there's three things that I want to talk about, which is maybe a resolution, maybe a solution. I like to call it relaxed intensity. And there's three components to relaxed intensity that I've learned over the years that I really enjoy sharing because it did help me and it has helped others. And that's maturity, wisdom, and attitude. And we've talked about that in the past. Um, Maturity plays a part because we need to use that self-control. You know, as vegans, we know that there are horrible things happening to animals every second of the day. When we're addressing people in situations that we find offensive or upsetting, whether we hear something in the news or we are sitting with our family and we're watching a friend eating a hamburger, I mean, these are all things that upset us, you know. We have to maintain maturity and that self-control. Wisdom, I believe wisdom is being a part, it's a part of being vegan, you know. I think wisdom's something we're all born with. We can tap into it. And I think our wisdom is awakened in different ways. It's that light switch that you were talking about earlier that flips when we embrace the reality of animals and everything for that matter as equal to us and a part of the whole. And then attitude, because attitude is how you think or feel about someone reflective of their behavior, how we treat them, right? And this is an exercise in, I like to call prospecting. And it brings me to an interesting story. Um, Direct marketing is something that I got involved with as a young person. Um, and I went to this training called Journey Beyond Perception. And it was about prospecting. It was about the law of attraction. You know, what we put out is what we attract. And it was really an exercise in learning who you are and what you're projecting out into the world. And I learned a lot during that training, and I actually use it in my advocacy every day. Um, we are ultimately voices for the animals, or if we choose to be voices for the animals, they deserve leaders or ambassadors. If we plant rotten seeds in people's minds, we're going to turn them away from being vegan, the animal rights movement, and we don't want to do that because we have to look at the big picture. We want to plant healthy seeds in people's minds that will either take root immediately or a year or 5 years from now. But we want to leave people with a positive experience. That is the way we're going to attract people to seeing things the way we do. And that may mean that we stop looking at things from the perspective of right and wrong, because most of us were not born vegan. At some point, we ate meat, we sat on leather, we wore fur, and something, you know, like my crazy story, everybody has a story, flipped that switch. And we decided that we no longer wanted to partake in that behavior or in that system. So at the time, it was right for us, and then it became wrong for us. everybody's on a different journey. Some people are not ready to embrace that wisdom, you know, and we have to, unfortunately, I want to say we have to be patient with people. And the reason for that is because if we're not, then we're not properly representing the animals. We're not being proper ambassadors for the animals. And they are the reason why we are doing this. It's, moving us into a more evolved aspect of the human race. Because I believe vegans are more evolved because we've embraced our wisdom. And so we have to be patient. And then you talk about self-care, because anger eats us up alive. It festers. It could make us sick. So get involved with a support group. Farm actually has a support group every first Tuesday of each month, the Interconnected Support Group. You can go to our website and sign up. It's completely free. This is just an example. It's facilitated by a dear friend, April Lang, who's an incredible vegan therapist. Or if that's not something for you, spend time with like-minded beings, spend time with animals, but take action, do something to make you feel better about what's happening. Because if you move into action, then at least you're doing something. You're a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.
Those are very good points. The maturity is something I hadn't really thought about, but yes. And taking a breath, right? Before we take action, when we feel the emotions. So when we're feeling these emotions, right? We don't want to be driven by emotions. I mean, like, emotions are good, like you're saying, using the anger to take that energy and put it into activism, right? Because we have energy from the anger. How are we going to use it? And to be that example. So those are really good points. And there was something I was going to say, but I forgot. But that you covered a lot of key issues here. And no one's saying it's easy, right? We're not saying that this is easy. We're saying this is something to work on, to work towards. It's like if you're a new vegan watching this, right? And just saying, like, what am I going to do with this anger? So, taking a breath and, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a storm. There's a storm happening, and if you want to be a captain of your own ship, you need to compose yourself, and be that leader that's going to inspire others to want to ride that wave with you. But we are living in a storm. There are a lot of horrible things happening. But on the flip side, there's a lot of really great things happening too. Laws are being passed. Food companies are coming up with incredible plant-based food alternatives. Technology companies are investing millions of dollars into new food technologies. Farmers are working with organizations and pivoting from animal agriculture to plant agriculture. Then you have people who are environmentalists who are educating people about the true impact of industrial agriculture on the planet. There are probably many ways or many reasons why someone would be vegan, but there's three main ones, right? We know of health, animals, and the environment. If you're talking to someone and you're looking to educate them or inspire them, find out what their interests are. If they're having problems with their health, don't push environmentalism on them. Talk to them about how plant-based diet can help their health, right? If they're an animal lover, try and nurture their love of animals and parlay that into, well, if you have a dog, then what's the difference between that and a pig? Because pigs are actually more intelligent than dogs, and they love belly rubs, and they love, interacting with family, and they make great companion animals too, right? Some people have pet pigs. I don't love that word pet, but yeah, I mean, there's all different ways of talking to people.
There are, and I'm seeing we're getting some comments over here. Someone is asking, in my inner spiritual life, I'm complete and happy, but cruelty against animals destroys my life. And I also think it's coward to forget the crimes committed against animals and just meditate. And I'd like to just say one thing. I mean, I can speak for myself. I'm not forgetting the crimes against animals. What I realize is that in order to be a better advocate for animals, and this is what I do in my coaching programs with people, is I work on myself where I can handle it in a peaceful, calm manner where I'm not just railing against someone and pushing them away. It's an imperative that I stay calm so that I have to support myself. And so, yes. And so I'll put that comment up again so you can see it. What would you say to this, Lisa?
Well, I have to say, the second line, I always think that it is coward to forget. We are in no way saying that we should forget. We can't forget. But we need to keep that big picture as the masthead of what we're doing. We're not forgetting the crimes. But if we want to grow the movement, if we want to draw more people on our side, if you want to, look at it as sides, we have to be compassionate towards people too. And that doesn't mean forgiving them or agreeing with them or saying in any way, shape, or form it's okay. But we must remember, I think it's important to remember that people are going to turn away from us if we make them feel bad about who they are, what they're doing. You can explain to someone that it's wrong. You can say, well, consider this, and talk to them about the atrocities and the suffering, and the abuse that animals, the murder that animals suffer every single moment of every day. But we need to do it in a way where we are sharing information so that we're inspiring them to see it from our perspective, so that maybe they will change their mind and make that change. I think what people are getting confused about is we're not forgiving people or forgetting, but it's the way we communicate how we disagree with them. You can explain to someone something in a kind way, even though it's not a kind subject. Or you can get mad at them and scream at them and yell at them and make them feel terrible for what and who they are. How are they going to react to that? How do we react when someone tells us what we're doing is wrong? When someone tells us veganism is wrong or makes fun of us, right? We don't feel necessarily great about that. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the manner in which we share the information.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers that person's question, but I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that we're saying it's okay.
No, we're not saying it's okay. It's horrendous. We acknowledge it's horrendous. What we're trying to do is be the most effective communicators that we can for the animal's sake. And that means working on ourselves, our inner work first, right? And being aware that I've got to present this in a way that's non-threatening to someone else. As soon as people feel threatened, everything shuts down. They're going to do the opposite of what we want.
Right.
So,
Another micro program that Farm has is called the Charm Program, and it's celebrating heroes in the animal rights movement. And I've been given the honor every month interviewing a different person in the animal rights movement, all different kinds of people from all different walks of life. But, a common denominator, these people are doing great things. They are successful in their own right. And I could tell you that all of these people have grasped what we're talking about. And that's why they are having success in what they're doing, because they understand coming from a place of anger is not an effective form of advocacy. They see the big picture. So whether they're an environmentalist like Dr. Salish Rao, or someone like Victoria Moran, or Jane Velez Mitchell, these people understand that to educate people, to inspire people is the way to go, not to piss people off and make them feel bad about themselves. It's just not an effective way to advocate for animals.
Right. And it's wasting that energy again. So that's problem focused. If we're focused on how bad the people are and how much we hate them, that's, we can say that's problem. What's the solution? Effective
That's right.
communication, right? That's the solution. So we let go of the anger. I mean, sure, the anger's there. We got our fuel. Now what are we going to do? We move into solution, and solution means being able to communicate in a manner that's an attractant, right? Anger is a repellent
That's
for
right.
people. So we
That's
have
right.
to be attractants.
Right.
So definitely. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
I mean, people need to vent, people need to get this out. And that's why I suggest, join a support group, interconnected support group. We meet every month. People talk about their experiences and how they feel. And, we share and we support one another. That's what a support group is, right? Get into a support group, or create your own. Maybe contact a few people. It doesn't necessarily have to be local to you. Use the internet, the power of the internet. You can meet with people all over the world and just spend an hour every week or every month talking to people. Hey, this happened to me, and maybe someone has some great advice for you, or maybe you can offer some great advice to them. That's where you vent your anger with people that, are on that same page and they know where you're coming from. You don't have to do this alone, right? But when you're talking to people that you're trying to convince, um, that's when you use your maturity and your wisdom.
right. And the anger is poisoning us. If we're sitting here angry, it's really hurting us. It's not
Absolutely.
hurting them at all. They just laugh. And that's, in fact, they want us to be angry, right?
Right.
We're doing everything that they want.
Right.
They are expecting that we aren't able to carry on these rational conversations.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we really need to be
We
able
are living the righteous life. We are right. We are the more evolved beings. We've embraced the true reality that every being on this planet shares the planet equally. And what we do to others is what we're doing to ourselves. So we are living the right life. And we just have to, like a parent talks to a child, you don't want to make that child feel bad because they didn't know better. I didn't know better. I didn't know what was happening to animals before I learned, and if someone would have approached me, I may have been open minded to it. But if they made me feel bad about what I was doing at that time, I may not have been open minded to veganism.
Yeah, and we're forgetting that we're going up against years and years and years of programming. I mean, commercials on TV, billboard, everything is just, overwhelming, pushing this meat that we've got to have dairy for
Right.
calcium, right? We're going to be weak if we don't eat meat. And so we're going up against that. And then that rattles their whole belief system, right? It's not just
Absolutely.
a tiny thing. This is a whole belief system. So
Yeah.
when you think about it, I mean, who's going to change their whole belief system like that without, I mean, most people wouldn't, and I wouldn't either. I would give it some careful thought. I would say, wait a minute, you know what? I'm going to think about what that person said. I'm going to go home and do research on my own, because
Yeah.
it's just not rational to think people are going to immediately quit. Some people do, and that's wonderful, but still, they've had the journey up until that point where it was easier for them maybe to watch a documentary and quit. Some
Right.
people have food addictions, and the meat is very addictive, and they don't know
Yeah, it's
how to
psychologically
counter it.
addictive, it's physically addictive, that casomorphine and dairy. It's addictive on many levels. And you're right, it is a systemic issue. And it's like Neo being pulled out of the Matrix, right? He starts to see the world in like this totally different way, and he goes through this series of, you know, like changes, like, oh my god, he really starts to understand that this has all been set up for a reason. I think it's similar to that. It really is.
Oh, it
Um,
definitely is, and we're not taking that into account. I mean, this is a whole big picture thing again. It's not just one simple thing. I
right,
mean, people are lost when you say, okay, now, like, now I'm going to go vegan. What does that mean, even? Or what am I going to eat? Who are my friends going to be? People are going to make fun of me. All right. Are people going to hate me now?
right. Yeah, and it's not easy because people will judge you. People talk about, like, we have our website, Compassionate Holidays, and we provide people resources, not only recipes, but advice on, okay, the holidays are coming up, the big holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and Ramadan. And people are ultimately going to be with family. And more times than not, they're going to be the only vegan, or maybe one of 2 or 3 vegans. There may not be food for you to eat, so you have to bring your own food. There's hurdles that people have to overcome. And so, yeah, it's not easy. But if you truly believe in what you're doing, then you'll find a way.
That's true. And I'm looking at this comment. Anger is justified in so many cases. And that's fine. Yes. We're not saying that anger is not justified. It is just very justified if that being animals being harmed to feel angry. I mean, that just shows how beautiful our hearts are, very beautiful, that we are not turning
Yes.
away. We acknowledge it. Right. And
Yes.
they're saying, I think that using our anger to propel us forward
Yeah.
and move us from inactivity to action is a good use of our personal feelings of anger.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So we're getting a lot of comments over here. Someone is saying Jane Goodall and Earthling Ed are very good communicators and educators.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are. And people
Absolutely.
love them. I mean, those are great mentors, great people to watch. And they are not getting rattled. They go in there. They have no agendas, no outcomes.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. I go in, I am who I am. I present. You may take it, and
Right.
if you don't take it, that's fine. And then we go on to the next person.
Right. I don't want people to think they have to be as good orators as Jane Goodall and Earthling Ed. I mean, they've been doing it for years and years. But the one thing about the both of them is their composure. I've seen Earthling Ed rattle down, a dozen, this is why I wouldn't be vegan. And he's, has an answer for each point that people would make. But he does it in a way where he's composed, he's relaxed, he's intense, and that he truly believes what he's saying without emotion. He's just providing the information with which you can do whatever you want with, right? And I think that's a great approach. I really do.
It is a very good approach. You're right. And these are skills. They're all skills to work on, just like the journey of life. So, and to be gentle with ourselves, right? I mean, and so let's say, what would you recommend to someone that's really doesn't know how to deal with these feelings of anger, Lisa?
Again, self-care is really important, because if you are sick or you're emotionally, in a bad place, you're not going to be able to be an advocate. So I would definitely work on self-care, which means support group, spending time with like people. Find out what you're good at and what you enjoy, because everybody has talents. And then see how you can put those talents to work for the animals, right?
Right.
You could be a great writer. You could be a great speaker, a photographer, someone who has great organizational skills. No matter what your talent is, no matter what you enjoy to do, there's a place for you. There are organizations, including farm. You can go to the farm website and fill out our volunteer form. There are things to do. All organizations are always looking for volunteers. We have a big festival coming up in the DMV area on Sunday, June 4th, called Planet Bethesda. It's our second annual. We're looking for volunteers, and there's all kinds of things to do. There's a Fairfax Veg Fest in April on the 23rd. They're looking for volunteers, all kinds of things to do. There's always a way to get involved. That's a way to feel like you are, contributing to the solution. And believe it or not, that is actually a healing mechanism, because you feel like, okay, you know what? This was a good day. This is what I accomplished for the animals. It is cathartic to get involved and be proactive. It's not a good idea to just, sit in your house and watch terrible videos and just think about all the horrifying things going on with animals. I mean, there are horrifying things going on, but to not do anything about it and just be depressed about it and upset is not doing you any good, and it's definitely not doing the animals any good. Get involved, do something, be your own leader and inspire others. You know, reach out to an organization like Farm or PETA or one of the other organizations that provide literature, and set up somewhere in your neighborhood on a corner and just pass out literature. Um, Talk to people, inspire people to think differently, to see things differently. Everybody can do something.
Right. Everybody can do something. And someone told me this morning only 1% of vegans are taking action. So it's crucial that we take action. And you're right, taking action is cathartic. Some things that I try to do is just to take a breath. I mean, take a breath and step away and try to put myself in those person's shoes. And remember that I wasn't always vegan either. I
Right.
used to think people were nuts. So to have compassion for those people, because they really don't understand. I mean, to look at it from a place of these people are being misled by these food
Right.
industries, and all these, and these things they're putting in their body are toxic. I mean, they're toxic, and they cause all sorts of diseases. They're toxic spiritually, because you're putting in that, an animal that wants to live, and wants to have a peaceful. So that's
Absolutely.
all contributing. So I am able to, now that I've worked on myself, have compassion for those people, because they're only hurting themselves and they're paying the price every day. So writing it down, journaling gets these feelings of anger out. And it's very crucial, the support groups, and to have friends to go to and to
Right.
take action, like Lisa, yeah, like you're saying, take action. Don't just sit at home and do nothing, because you're poisoning yourself again. And
Absolutely. And don't waste your time on people that are not ready. And don't feel bad if someone turns you down or laughs at you or says, it's not for me. Just move on. you know, Not this one, next. I have a friend who I met in 2008, and since 2008, I've been talking to her about plant-based. Her health would, definitely benefit. And just this past New Year's Eve, she decided to go vegan. So that's from 2008 to 2023. So
right.
I have patience, and we all have to have patience. Uh, but sometimes it does take time. Sometimes it's just not the right time for people, but that's okay. Just move on to the next person, or
Yeah,
go to the next rally, or get involved with another group of friends. Maybe look up meetups in your neighborhood or your area. Maybe there's a plant-based or vegan meetup that you can share a hobby, or something fun to do together.
definitely. That's crucial. And also being aware of what causes you anger. A lot of times with my own clients, um, they some of them will get caught up in these messages like on social media and get so angry, and so
Yeah.
that's not helping them. They're just like, I'm a nervous wreck, right? And
Yeah.
so when we would go work together, let's step away from that, which that isn't even effective activism. That's like the least effective.
Yeah.
Then they're able to, now I see them changing. Now they're calm. Now they're being productive in other
Yes.
ways, which is
Yes.
amazing. Yes. So
Yeah,
um,
sometimes it could be crippling. It's crippling and paralyzing, but that's the whole point. You don't want to get to that point, right? There's really no need. If you're already vegan, there's no need to continue to watch that terrible, the footage and the videos, even the documentaries. There are documentaries that to this day I won't watch. I know that's going on. I don't need to see it. Those are made for people that are not aware, to enlighten them about this is what's happening behind the scenes. So every time you eat meat or you wear leather, or buy a down comforter, this is what you're supporting, right? That's for them. We don't need to be watching that. We need to be getting out there and sharing a message of compassion, and that's important. That people know that we don't hate people, right? We want to educate you about how to be compassionate towards animals, and to stop contributing to that system that's exploiting animals in so many different ways.
exactly. And veganism for me, I believe it's about loving all animals, the human animal, right? And how that's on me. how am I going to get to the place where I really live up to what I believe veganism is, which is loving all? So that's my work, to work on myself to get there. You know, if
Yeah.
I'm feeding someone else, then it's time to turn it back to myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's easy to love animals because they're unconditional and they're innocent. It's not so easy to love some humans. And you don't necessarily have to love everybody, you know? You don't even have to like them. But I think if we piss them off, we're going to turn them against the vegan movement. And then we're not doing animals a service, we're doing them a disservice. So that's why I call it prospecting. We're prospecting. We're trying to get people to be interested in what this is all about, and maybe they'll take the next step and go home and get on the internet and maybe look some things up, just planting that healthy seed in their brain rather than that rotten seed. I think that's the way to go.
well, that's very, very important, right? You're right. You just want them to be curious enough
Mm-hmm.
to take the next step, right? And that's all you
Yeah,
ask. And then,
absolutely. Yeah, you're not going to, I mean, it could have happened in the past. I don't know, but I don't think anybody has gone vegan after one conversation. You know, I don't think you're going to take someone who has been eating meat, drinking, and eating dairy, wearing fur, sitting on leather, from that to veganism in one conversation. We have one opportunity to make a first impression with everybody, right? So let's make a good impression. Let's leave a good impression and just like push them in the right direction. So they'll find a little bit out about it, or they'll go to the store and they'll buy like, some plant-based deli slices, or, who knows, like a, a Beyond Burger or something. And they'll say, hey, you know what? This isn't bad. Maybe I can do this. And they'll do a little bit more research about what else they can do. Just push them in the right direction. Don't push them in the wrong direction. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, and also then they also are able to reach out to you because you haven't burnt that bridge. If that, like they'll circle back. Maybe it'll be a year. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, the next day. Like, oh, I thought about it overnight. I've been thinking about it. Can you tell me more? So, but if
Right.
if the bridge is burnt, forget it. We got
Right.
to be a welcoming place.
Right, exactly. And if it's someone I just thought of this, if it's someone like especially if it's like your parents, like the people that changed your diaper when you were like, when you pooped in your pants, they're not going to like respect, what you say. Just like turn them on to an expert, give them the Gary Yourofsky video to watch, right? He's amazing. Or send them to Bite Size Vegan and listen to Emily talk a little bit, or turn them on to a Earthling Ed video, or one of those amazing documentaries that are out there, right? Cowspiracy, or What the Health, or Forks Over Knives, or if they're into fitness, Game Changers, right? There's so much information out there. We don't need to be the expert. We don't need to like, slam them with all this information. Just push them in the right direction. Don't scream at them. Don't yell at them. Don't make them feel bad about their choices, which they're making in this very moment, which could change, right? Just push them in the right direction. Send them information. Send them to one of the organizations. Farm has a tremendous amount of information. We have multiple campaigns. We have multiple websites, meatout.org, ditchdairy.org, Vegan Videos, which is a huge library of videos. There's over 2,000 videos that you have access to using various filters. There's World Day for Animals, Compassionate Holidays, Green Your Plate, which is a Vegan Earth Day website. There's so much information and resources. And we're also working on resuscitating livevegan.org, which is going to be an incredible resource for people who are interested in going vegan or people who are already vegan. And then there are other organizations out there too. So there's a lot of information out there. We don't have to be the experts. We just have to show people the right direction to look to.
Right. And And so, like, when it is our own family, like someone's asking, I mean, I think about Earthling Ed. I mean, his family's not vegan. If anybody's family would be vegan, you wouldn't think it would be
Right.
his, right? So,
Good
I mean,
point. Great point. Right.
I
Good
just talked
point.
about this, yes, with one of my clients, that was ready to, pull out their hair earlier because the family, they were saying, well, of all people, it should be the easiest with family, but in reality, the family is the one that it's,
Right. Right.
just hang it up. Let someone else do it. Like, let
Right.
someone else convert the family. It's
Yeah.
a step away because
Yeah. And this question about what, your own family. So make a delicious meal for your family. I don't know. Alls I know is this tastes delicious and it's a lot healthier than the meat version, right? And then there's another component, which is just do the right thing by yourself, right? If you want to do the whole food plant-based thing, great. If you don't, great. But try and be a great example of veganism, right? Be healthy in your mind, in your body. People see things that they want, they're going to do what you're doing to get what you have, right? So if they see that your health is improving, that maybe you lost some weight, your attitude has changed, you're smiling more, who's not going to want that?
well,
Well,
yeah.
how did you achieve that? How did you lose weight? How are you more healthy? How come you're not a diabetic anymore? How come you're not on your high blood pressure pills anymore? Why are you not dealing with that heart situation that you used to deal with, right? Your blood pressure is normal. What's going on? Oh, well, I switched to a plant-based diet. This is what I did. Here, try it. There's all kinds of ways to get people interested in taking that, trying it out, trying plant-based out.
Right. Yeah. And then that's very good. I mean, that's a way to do it peacefully where you're just being a good example because that has tremendous power. I know Jeff Palmer, when in our live stream, he was talking about he saw someone, he was like, oh my gosh, what does she have? Right.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the journey for him. So you have, I mean, just going to the store. I mean, I was walking around with tofu last week and someone asked me, tell me about tofu. And that led into this
Oh,
big
wow.
conversation. So yes, and
That's great.
be approachable, right? Be smiling, be attracting again. So yeah, you don't ever know. People are watching all the time. So it's important that we are showing like a shining light, not a dark cloud. Like
Right.
veganism is so horrible and I'm so angry. Well, don't you want to be vegan?
Right.
No.
Right.
No, I don't want to
Exactly.
be angry like you.
Yeah, I think that's you just said it perfectly. I said, I think that's it. You want people to want what you have, and I don't mean monetarily or stuff. I mean what you are projecting. You want to attract people with that, and who's attracted to anger? I don't know. I'm not.
No, I'm not either. So yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, here's one about the family, my family. So they're atheists. When they furthermore see I'm religious and spiritual, they think I'm crazy together with all the vegan stuff. And so, I mean, not unfortunate, whatever it is. I mean, that's their right to do that. And that's just like it's my right to see things the way I want to see. But however, if I'm living in what I believe in, I'm going to allow you to think whatever you want because I'm going to be strong in my own belief that what I'm doing is right, unshakable in that belief.
Right.
Like, and like the leaders, like Earthling Ed, unshakable. You might think I'm crazy, but that doesn't stop me from living in alignment with my beliefs.
Right.
So that's again the inner work. And knowing that we are, this awakening that we've had, they haven't had it. So that's why they don't see. They've got blinders on. They don't see. And
right. I don't think you need to be religious or spiritual to be vegan. I know several people who consider themselves atheists who are actually important people in the movement, and they consider themselves atheists. For them, it's a social issue. Case in point, the founder of Farm, Dr. Alex Hershaft, he's a Holocaust survivor. And, instead of living his life in victimhood, he took what happened to him and what he experienced in the Holocaust and losing his entire family and turning it onto the animals. For him, it's not about the victims, it's about the people who are victimizing, right? Um, he thinks that should stop. The bullies of the world, the people who are the villains. Um, doesn't matter if it's happening to humans or animals or the planet itself. This has to stop. And that's why it's about having compassion for ourselves, for others, for the animals, for the planet. That's what we're teaching. And it's a point that's further away in human evolution. Some of us are closer to that than others. And I think veganism is a part of being closer to that, becoming more of an evolved being, if you will. And that's what this is all about. And if you're evolved and if you have embraced your wisdom, then after thinking about it, I believe that the only conclusion you can come to is you have to do this with an open heart. You have to do this with compassion. And again, I'll say, we're not forgetting, we're not forgiving, we're not agreeing with or saying it's okay. Absolutely not. But we have to be smart about it. And we have to be ambassadors for the animals and push people in the right direction. So when we're not with them, when they walk away from us, they want to know more, right? Their curiosity, like you said, is piqued. And maybe they try a product or they look into it or they watch a documentary or they look up an organization and start to read about it. But that's the inertia that you start when you push someone in the right direction. If you push them again in the wrong direction, then we may have lost them for good. And we don't want that to happen because that doesn't help the animals.
Exactly. It's a very delicate issue. We don't want, and it's easy to lose them forever. It's easy.
Yeah.
So, what about if someone came up to you or you were talking to someone and they got angry? What would you recommend? What do you do if that happens? If they're getting angry, how do you handle that?
You mean a vegan who's angry?
No, well, a pre-vegan, let's say, they don't want to hear it, and they're like, I mean, if you can see they're getting angry, what would your response be?
I would ask them why they were angry. I think the best form of communication is to listen. You want to hear where people are coming from before you open your mouth, because then you know what to say or what not to say. So find out why they're angry. Maybe they had a bad experience. Find out what their interests are, what they're looking to improve, what they're looking to change, what's bothering them. And then talk to them about how maybe our lifestyle can help them with any of their concerns. There's so many angles to hit it from. And I know it sounds a little divisive, but yeah, sometimes we have to be divisive. And it's not an intentional thing like we're trying to get over on somebody, but it's like finding out where they're at so that we can cater what we're going to say to them to help them in the best way possible. So I would find out why they're angry and then find out what they want out of it. And if it's a big zero and they're just past that point, then I just say, okay, and I walk away, because whatever energy I'm going to put into like hitting that brick wall, that energy can be used to talk to someone else who is open and possibly interested in making a change or finding out more information. So it's like, why waste your time? Why waste your energy? Why waste your talent on someone that's not ready?
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's the thing. Also, we got to be aware of, are they ready? before we start launching into, I mean, a lot of times, like we go into these conversations, here's what I'm going to say. And we don't listen, like you're saying. Listening is so important, putting ourselves, taking a step back and saying, where are they first? And, and so how am I going to approach this? It's crucial for healthy conversations and allowing them to be at the place they're at. If they're not at the place to hear, that's their right. It's not what I like, but that's the facts. So
absolutely. I think it's, we have to take it off of ourselves. We're feeling everything we've seen, everything we've experienced, what's happening to the animals is literally burned into our conscience. And it's something that we can't just erase that, right? So we harbor that, we hold that in. And then when we finally find someone, especially when we're new to the movement, and we want to just rail them, like, well, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. That's our own ego. That's not something that's going to help someone else. Just us railing them about, what they're doing and how they're and what we think about it and this and that. It's not going to help anybody. We have to be really mature and wise about how we speak to people. And if we slip up, okay, we have a bad day, next, right? You wake up the next morning and you just make sure that, or hopefully make sure that doesn't happen again. And, we all have bad days. Earthling Ed has a bad day every once in a while, right? I'm sure Jane Goodall has a bad day every once in a while. No one is perfect. And we're not implying that anybody should be perfect. We're just saying, think about what the ultimate goal is. Think about who you're representing. And in this case, it's the animals. How do we speak on behalf of the animals in the best way possible? It's like being the ambassador of a country, right? You want people to come to your country. You want them to take their vacation. You want, international communication with other countries. You're going to represent what you're representing in a good light. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, again, this is a delicate situation. So we want to be ready. I mean, by taking care of ourselves first, getting in the place of calm. We don't want to be going out there and doing activism if we're already worked up, like I was saying earlier, with all these emotions, just like, and now I'm going to take it out on the next person I see, right? Yeah. No, we've got to be grounded and accepting first. So someone is saying, yes, the friendly face is a good point. My son wants to see friendly faces. Yes. We've got so many comments over here. And I mean, I know that we knew this was going to be a big topic because anger, we all feel it. And again, we're saying it's normal to feel angry. It's part of life. But what do you do with it? And how do you, back to the maturity, how do you handle this in a mature fashion, right? Where you're presenting like the ambassador of the country, ambassador of veganism, right? You're representing veganism to this person. That might be all they know. I mean, this might be your one shot. And so how are you going to handle that?
Are you asking me, or you're just sort of rhetorically asking?
Well, I mean, either way, what do you say to that?
Regarding maturity?
How do you handle the one shot?
I mean, I know that I don't want it to come across as bad, but sometimes when I'm talking to people, like even my significant other, he was a hunter and an avid meat eater, and he stopped. So for the past year, he's been eating plant-based and not hunting, which I feel is like a win for the animals, right? I guess you kind of think about talking to them like a young, innocent child who doesn't know better, because they don't. Like you said earlier, they grew up in this systemic world where from the time they were babies, they're being given milk. Then they're given milk in school and meat. And, no one talks about this stuff unless you're a vegan. When you're growing up, you just think it's normal. I grew up in a home that ate meat and drank milk and cheese, and I never thought about it. How would I have? No one talked to me about it. But I think it's about not being necessarily like looking down upon someone or talking down to them, but appealing to their innocence, and not, or maybe ignorance is a better word, because I know when someone says, oh, this person is, abusing an animal, you don't see them as innocent, but they're ignorant. They don't know better. And so maybe talking to them about, how they may look at things differently. I'm trying to think of a way, like, I don't want to offend anybody or I don't want anybody to think I'm saying like we're excusing people, but it's just not making someone feel bad and just assuming they're ignorant and they don't know better, and educating them about stuff that, like, oh my God, I had no idea. Some people have no idea. Like, I was having a conversation with someone, a very intelligent person, a few months ago, and they never thought about the fact that cows, or female cows, need to be continuously, forcefully impregnated to continue to produce milk. It's not that they thought that cows just produce milk, but they never thought about the act of the rape that female cows go through. And then every time they give birth, that animal is ripped from them, never to be seen again. And they both cry out, mother and child both cry out as a human would, right? They didn't even think about that. So you never know what people don't know. And this is why we have to have patience and educate them and inspire them to move in the right direction by going out and finding out more information themselves once you leave their side.
Right. And also sometimes, I mean, just like, let's talk about like in school. Sometimes, I mean, for me, math was so hard. The teacher might explain it one time and I didn't get it. I still might not get it the second time. I might not get it the third. I mean, people are all different. And it's the same thing for veganism. It's easy to say, well, we told them, but they didn't really get it. They still have all these other things that they're going to be fighting, like these old beliefs, these myths. So, sure, we might have showed them one thing, and for us that was enough, but not for them, because it wouldn't have been. It's not enough if they didn't, switch to veganism. And everyone's different, and we have to respect that. It's people get mad at me for saying, well, we need them to change now. That's right. We do need people to change now, but that's not up to me. And I'm not going to poison myself by getting angry. So I'm ineffective to get up tomorrow because I'll be laying in bed so angry that I can't get up and inspire people tomorrow.
Right. And there's also the aspect of once you educate someone, then they go off to their own, and then they read the USDA or the FDA. There's a lot of groups out there that are making a lot of money and maintaining power by maintaining meat in the system, exploiting animals, because then it's okay to exploit humans.
Well, yeah.
And we live in a society where humans are exploited, animals are exploited. If we start to make it illegal to exploit animals, then is it going to be okay to exploit humans? So it's the system that's been, created over a long period of time. And there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of organizations. And if you look on their website, they have all of this really well thought out statistical information about why meat is great, and animals are not exploited and they're not abused. And they'll go and they'll read that and they'll be like, what is that vegan talking about? They're wrong. Look at this information, proves that it's not true. So we're also going up against that too. That's actually an important aspect of the misinformation out there. That exists, and this is what people live by. They listen to these organizations and have their entire lives about what they should be feeding their kids. And, veganism is not healthy. You're not going to where are you going to get your protein from, right? And dairy does the body good. And in order to grow and have strong bones, you need to drink cow's milk. This is what people have grown up hearing. And this is what we're up against. So that's why we need to talk to people in a way that they are ignorant to the truth. And we have the truth. Let me talk to you about it. Let me send you some information. Watch this movie. Talk to this person. I mean, there's so many avenues to educate yourself, but we need to put them in the right direction.
Exactly. And we've gotten so many comments where we could go on forever. But I would love to respect everyone's time here. And I want everybody to make sure that you can reach out to Lisa. And also, if you have any final points, Lisa, and I'd love to have you back here again,
Okay.
to talk about this further, please let us know your final points and where people can find you to connect with you, because we really want to answer your questions. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you have a YouTube, let us know about that also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, farm, like I said, is a very old and I would say distinguished organization founded by Dr. Alex Hershaft. More recently, a few years ago, Eric Lindstrom took over as executive director, and he's done some really wonderful things with the organization. We have so much going on. We have so many programs. We're joined by Addison Lance, who's our new program director, and she's doing an incredible job to take our programs to the next level. We're getting involved in a lot of different things. We need volunteers, but the Interconnected Support Group is a great resource. People go to the farmusa.org website and sign up to be a volunteer. They can sign up for our Interconnected Support Group, which again is every first Tuesday of every month, and it's free, facilitated by April Lang, an incredible vegan therapist. Anybody can reach out to me at Lisa, Lisa, at farmusa.org. If they have questions, they want to get involved, I can point them in the right direction if they're looking for specific resources. Maybe they want to volunteer for us at a particular event, or maybe they want to arrange some kind of an event themselves in their area. We can help them by sending literature, providing them resources. Yeah, there's just so many ways to get involved, and I'm always looking to help people. Just reach out to me and I'll do what I can.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And thanks everybody, Deb and JJ and Chris and everyone else that's been watching. I really appreciate your comments. We'll go back through and look at them and see if there's some things that need to be answered. If you're watching the replay, again, please comment. If you're feeling frustrated, please go to the support group that Lisa's talking about. I have a lot of resources also to help. That we don't want anyone to be consumed by anger. Everyone deserves to live in peace. So yes, and we're sending peace to you all now. And so thank you so much, Lisa, for this. This has really been eye-opening and a blessing.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure and honor. I really appreciate it. And I'd love to join you again at some time in the future.
Great. We'll make it happen. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.